Let's talk about the house of God, the term, at least. The Spirit wants us to think of the church and as many magnificent things. We are to think of it as a kingdom and as a temple and as a bride and as a holy nation. And yet Scripture repeatedly chooses a quieter title too. It calls her, the church, the house of God. 1 Timothy 3:15, the house of God is the church of the living God. Now, a house is good, but hardly sounds magnificent as a title. A house is where the shoes are left at the door. A house is where children spill milk. A house is almost incredibly ordinary. And yet God, who owns the stars, called his greatest work on earth, the one he says he died for in Ephesians, a house. And that is precisely in our Old Testament reading today what startled Jacob. In Genesis 28, Jacob lay down thinking he had just found another patch of wilderness in transit to somewhere more important. And as we'll read, he awoke trembling because he had become aware that that ordinary place was in fact, underneath God's vision, God's house. The apostles then make an even bolder claim that what Jacob found in that one place, God has made of us. We are his house. Hebrews 3:6, Christ is a son over his own house, whose house we are. But even for us, Jacob's lesson endures. The life of God's house can seem incredibly unheroic. As 3 John, our second lectionary reading, describes, church life is all about welcoming visitors and supporting ministers and preserving peace among brethren. Despite its appearances, these low-level things are actually the stuff that heaven on earth is made of. See, the way the Bible talks about church life looks suspiciously like housekeeping. It's doing chores, it's loving people, it's sharing meals, it's then cleaning up the mess, it's forgiving others, it's raising children and then cleaning up their messes. It's all housekeeping. But why should that shock us? God calls the church a house. The miracle among us is that heaven has actually moved into our neighborhoods. And the kingdom victories are almost always dressed up as housework. And so then, if that's all true, that theology, then let me ask some housekeeping questions of us, of Trinity. When you come into this house of God, are you coming here as a family member or as a customer? Do you notice the needs that need doing, and do you chip in? Do you welcome those who are visiting? Do you bear patiently with your spiritual siblings? And do you sign up for help? Because we need the help. Of course, there are many more questions that you could ask yourself, but remember this. Houses aren't kept running by spectators. Houses are kept running by families. So, as 1 Timothy 3:15 says, know how to conduct yourself in the house of God. And this reminds us of our need to confess. So hear this from Psalm 69:5. O God, you know my foolishness, and my sins are not hidden from you. So if you're with us today and are able, you're invited to kneel. Come, let us worship and bow down and kneel before the Lord our God, our Maker.